Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. I like that white-haired Oshoko. It's very nice. The last time I spoke, I mentioned my trip to Vancouver, Canada, a little temple in Fraser Valley, meeting Canada's Bishop, Socho Fujikawa. We also talked about our Shin Buddhist practice, Shugyo. We practice Chodai, Itadaku, each time we open or close the service book. This is to show our respect and appreciation for the teachings of the Buddha. Today we have another story of the Fraser Valley Temple and another one of practice. Please join me in Gassho. How could you express your deep gratitude for Amida's benevolence? You should express your gratitude for the benevolence of Amida Tathagata by simply reciting Namo Amida Butsu, always, whether awake or asleep. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda. These are words from Renyo Shonin, from one of his Gobunsho letters. Renyo is reminding us that every aspect of our life is received. The air we breathe, the soil we work, the body we work with, the brains we figure things out with. Each of these things are received from what he refers to as the benevolence of Amida. Amida is all things beyond ourselves, including ourselves. We recite the Nembutsu, and our awareness is moved beyond ourselves and into the realm of other, into the realm of Amida. The shell of self is cracked, and we keep it cracked so we don't feel so self-important, and so we don't act so self-absorbed. This is done through practice that helps us to be reflective and mindful as we go through each moment of life. Chodai, Nembutsu. We are mindful of this shell. We are mindful of the crack in the shell. We are mindful of all that is received in our lives. So 3 weeks ago, I mentioned Fraser Valley Buddhist Temple in Canada. Maybe some of you were here when I talked about this little temple. It's a very small temple of about 40 members. They only meet once a month. And so when I went there, the service was a combination of Hanamatsuri, the monthly Shotsuki service, Socho appreciation, Keiro Kai elderly recognition, and a welcome lunch. Plus, I was the guest speaker, and the Bishop of Canada was there. The temple had been rebuilt after suffering an arson fire 10 years before, and it looks like an old schoolhouse with a dozen steps or so leading up to the front door. So today, as I was getting ready for today's message, I happened to be looking at a temple newsletter from the Midwest Temple in Chicago. A small article was written by one of their members who happened to grow up in this little Fraser Valley Temple in Canada. So connecting from here to Midwest Chicago to Canada, she was writing that she had become very vocal about speaking up for Buddhism and for anyone's rights to their own religious beliefs. This is a story about two sisters, May and Amy. I didn't notice right away, but 3 letters, Same 3 letters in each of their names, May and Amy. They grew up in Fraser Valley, Canada, and this is what May wrote. My younger sister Amy and I belonged to the Brookswood Brownies, kind of like our Girl Scouts groups here. Then graduated to the Brookswood Girl Guides. We were taught how the scouting system was founded by Lord and Lady Baden-Powell, so good little Christian boys and girls could be prepared. We attended Sunday school at the First Baptist Church of Langley. We were quite proud to be good little Christian girls. Around the age of 12, Sunday school students at the First Baptist Church of Langley were expected to be baptized. My sister and I also attended the Fraser Valley Buddhist Church. They met once a month on a Saturday. So there's no scheduling conflict. They went to both Buddhist church and the Christian church. However, We did have a conflict with becoming baptized because that meant giving our lives to Jesus and all the sacrifices attached to that act. We severed our relationship with the First Baptist Church of Langley and declared to the Brookswood Girl Guides that we were now Buddhist. Oh my God! What a chain of events was unleashed. The upshot being that Amy and I could no longer continue in the Girl Guides because we were no longer Christian. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to earn more badges. A year or two later, I entered junior high school. There was a club for girls called the Canadian Girls in Training. After I declared that I was a Buddhist, I was not invited to this group either, but was encouraged to join the Y Teens, a different group for some obscure reason. Now imagine a kid trying to explain all of this to her friends, some of whose faces reflected pity. From that moment, I decided to read as much as I could about Buddhism so that I could be on the best ground possible to defend and validate Buddhism. When people ask me, what is Buddhism, I am now able to give them a prolonged lecture. So I was surprised to find this short article that happened in Fraser Valley a long time ago when May and Amy were growing up. I'm glad she found this incident to be a reason to study, to find out more about the Buddhist teachings. May and Amy were insulted and made to feel less than or inferior because they were Buddhist. Some might just feel bad and hang their heads if this happened to them. But May and Amy were happy they were Buddhist. They wanted to learn more so they could stick up for themselves. What would you have done? 3 weeks ago, we also talked about practice, chodai, itadaku. These are our reminders to respect the words of the Buddha, to bow each time we open our special service books. As a contrast, I want to share the story of Socho Hagami. He's a modern Buddhist monk of the Tendai school. If you remember your lessons, Shindan Shonin was also a Tendai monk when he entered the priesthood and went up to Mount Hiei. He went up when he was 9 years old, and you think of this little boy entering the priesthood. But one of the things I notice when you look at the statues of Shindan that are placed here and there at different temples, he was a big man. The way he looks, the statue, he looks more like an NFL linebacker than a frail little 9-year-old boy entering the priesthood. So a lot of these monks go through exceptional training. On Mount Hiei, they have a practice called Chiho Yool. This means around peak practice, and it requires making 1,000 circuits around the peak of Mount Hiei, and it takes 7 years to complete. So this monk Hagami took on this practice. Rarely do people take this practice on. When he began, he was given a short seppuku sword. So if you know what those are, when you commit harakiri, you disembowel yourself. You kill yourself because you did not succeed in what you were trying to do. So no excuses were allowed. Even if his parents became ill, no time off would be allowed. Even if he broke a leg on one of the trails, he would be expected to continue. Serious deal. One monk undertook the Chiho Yool during World War II, when all the manpower was supposed to be put towards the war efforts for Japan. Even a world war was not enough reason to end this practice. Serious deal. During the first few years, Monk Hagami walked 20 miles a day over rough mountainous terrain. Over the last few years, he walked 50 miles a day. This was all in addition to his usual responsibilities as a monk. After 700 circuits, a special shugyo practice is part of this Chiho Yool. This special practice lasts 9 days, during which he could not eat any food, could not drink any water, could not sleep lying down. He could rest while sitting in a chair. Physiologically, we are not supposed to be able to go 2 or 3 days without water, but monk Hagami was asked to go 9 days. Not only could he not have water, he was required to carry water from the well to the monastery for the other monks to drink. On top of this, after the 9 days, monk Hagami was asked to perform the Goma ceremony. In this ceremony, fire is made out of these ceremonious placing of sticks, pieces of wood about 1/4 inch thick and 1 foot long, kind of like stacking pencils maybe, stacking them up. The sticks of wood symbolize the evil in oneself to be consumed by the fire. The Goma ceremony was held in the dead of winter. He had to burn no less than 120,000 pieces of wood. The stack of wood was over 8 feet high. The fire created flames leaping 10 feet in the air. Although the part of monk Hagami's body facing the fire felt as if it was burning, the part of his body away from the fire felt like it was freezing. Monk Hagami's efforts were done in modern times. A doctor from Kyoto had heard about this ritual that he was going to go through and planned to make regular examinations to determine how this practice, how the shugyo affected monk Hagami's bodily functions. On the 9th day without food or water, the doctor came to examine monk Hagami as usual, found him resting in a chair. Eyes were closed. The doctor raised monk Hagami's eyelids, peered in, but he got no reaction, and he said to his companion, "Monk Hagami seems to have died." But he hadn't died. He was aware of the doctor, but his bodily reactions were imperceptible. Monk Hagami was in his early 50s when he completed this Chiho Yool. Anyone in good physical condition could walk the 20 or 50 miles a day, but the Chiho Yool goes beyond physical strength, beyond physical capacity. Going beyond physical capacity means going beyond death. Spiritual strength and power is called upon. Monk Hagami is very impressed with Shindan Shonin and his teachings. He frequently goes to Jodo Shinshu groups and talks to them, always remarking that he could never have completed the Chiho Yool through his own efforts, and that looking back, he realizes that it was Tariki, Buddha-centered power, that saw him through. Shindan Shonin's perspective is that this same Buddha-centered or other-centered power moves towards each of us to break through this ego-centered barriers and awakens us. What we think is a protective shell and a comfort zone is a barrier that keeps us from awakening. The Nembutsu cracks this barrier, and the realm of other, the mind of Buddha, enters. Because of this awakening process, Honen, Shindan, and all our teachers encourage us to simply recite the Namo Amida Butsu, and our minds will awaken to the mind of Amida in the realm beyond self. Aren't we glad that we are Jodo Shinshu Buddhists and not Tendai Buddhists? So today we share these two very different stories, one of May and Amy sticking up for themselves, sticking up for their temple and their senseis, and for their right to be Buddhist in a society that is not. The other story of monk Hagami, who went through unimaginably severe training. His efforts can remind us of Shindan Shonin and Shakyamuni Buddha as they taught their awakening. For May and Amy and monk Hagami, being Buddhist means something very deep, very personal. Please join me in Gassho. How could you express your deep gratitude for Amida's benevolence? You should express your gratitude for the benevolence of Amida Tathagata by simply reciting Namo Amida Butsu always, whether awake or asleep. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda. Thank you.